Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here.
And we're happy.
We're happy every time.
Every time.
The fact that we have listeners.
I know.
Let's take a moment.
It hasn't even been a year.
Yes.
We are so grateful for each and every one of you. And we say that genuinely.
Yeah, that's not being facetious. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. What are we getting into today, Ruth?
Today we are posing the question, are your life choices affected by the people you hang out with? And we're being a little bit more broad here, I would say. And I think we've touched on certain things like being an entrepreneur or like finances or things like that. What we're going to question more today is if your friend group are getting married, having kids, cheating on their spouse. Like, are you joining in or
are you going, not for me?
Yeah.
That's a great, I'm so glad that you funneled it into that subgenre, because I think that's where I notice it the most, or where I'm like the most curious by, is when I see a group of friends. And honestly, when I'm dating, I look at my person that I'm dating, their group of friends.
That is so true.
I think it's very informative of where they could be headed.
Absolutely.
When you meet them and their guy friends, because I only date men, when their guy friends are players, they are chronically on dating apps, they don't commit to women, they go and party every weekend, I'm going to think I'm going to have a little reservation.
Absolutely. And I mean, of course, like, we can't, like, I think it's when it's the majority, right?
Yes, the majority.
Like, if
100%.
you have like a one-off, like you have that one friend that everybody's like, oh, Steve over here.
And they call that, I think the theory there, Noah knows it. My best friend Noah always brings that up. I think it's called the missing step theory. And I would love to do another episode on that. But that Steve fits into that, the quote unquote Steve.
That's going to be the name now.
Oh, it's hard because my sister's dating a Steve.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So I have to really, truly quote unquote Steve.
Not the good Steve.
No, we love Steve. That's the missing step theory of like everyone makes accommodations to that person.
Yeah.
So yes, beside that person, if they're majority of their friends, go ahead.
Are doing like doing well, but then you have like this one off. Like, that's different than if you're saying, oh, this is my group. This is my chosen like people that I want to be close to. And they're all part of this. Like, that is like the biggest red flag you can ask for. Like,
100%.
that is just like, how are they're not the one that's like, but me.
I'm the outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare that you're dating the outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's because environment is so influential. I think about that for drugs, alcohol use. Like, if you have a group of friends that are huge partiers, even if you're not a partier,
It normalizes it.
More often than not, you're going to be participating out of peer pressure, just because you're going out. You're being put in those scenarios more and more than you would normally.
Absolutely. I was just telling a friend the other day, because I was telling her when I was hanging out with like my toxic exes, like that group, like it was very common to do drugs or to binge drink or to like, it was just like, it was kind of like part of the culture. And so the more I'm in that culture, the more like this is normalized to me. And this is like, this is what everybody's doing, because if everybody around you is doing it, then there's no need for you to question it. Like, in your world, everybody is doing it. You have to step outside of that world to realize and look back in and say like, wait, that's not what I want. That's not who I am.
Totally.
But when you're in it, it becomes very normal.
Yeah. You're just accustomed to it. You know, it again, like, it destigmatizes it, you know, something that you might have been, if you saw, or if you maybe heard on paper, or heard on the street, or read on paper, these people drink 6 vodka sodas a night every Saturday. Yeah. You might be like, ooh, that's excessive.
I think 6 is a low count.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, my threshold is obviously much lower than most people's. But say I read that and I'm like, whoa. Yeah. And then I go out with friends and they're doing it. I'm not clocking my friend as being an excessive drinker.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, but like, because it's your friend and you know that they're doing it responsibly, quote unquote.
Right.
And now it's destigmatized to you. So now if your friends are like handing you 4 drinks,
absolutely,
you're not thinking anything of it.
No, not at all.
When your doctor on your yearly physical is like, how much do you drink? And you're like, now that I think about it, once a week.
Yeah.
And they're like, how much? And then you're like, oh, wow. Like,
one that they're also like, if we're like, even with drinking, like we're seeing more and more studies, obviously, that there's actually zero benefits to it.
we tried to like Jedi mind trick ourselves with the wine. We were like, wine is so good for your heart.
I still want to believe it.
It's good for your soul.
Yes.
Like if you want it.
I love my soul.
You do.
I want to care for her.
And if wine is what she wants, wine is what she gets. But yeah, I agree.
I had 3 glasses of wine last night. And like, I don't think Neil was counting how many. He gets the bill. He goes, how many did you have? I said,
you're like, enough.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. See, and at my 3rd drink, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I love this phone. I'm obsessed with this phone. I want to use it all the time.
Great prop.
No, it's true though. I think we always joke that like 2 drinks is my minimum, or I'm like dancing on the tables, which I would dance sober, but needless to say, it's something that stretches me out of my like the inhibitions, so to speak. And I think that's a good segue for watching your friends maybe cheat on a significant other if they're making that normal. Say someone is showing you they're married and they're like, oh, look at this girl. She's flirting with me on DMs. I would hope that most men, women, NBs would be like, what the fuck are you doing if you're in a committed relationship, and stop their friend's behavior as much as they could. You know, it's a person. They have autonomy. But
I mean, I think it's like, it's a great marker of like, if your significant other is telling you about a friend of theirs and how they respond to that activity, for one. For 2, if they even tell you, and if you hear it in other factors, like if they're being secretive about their friend's actions, like that's a big marker. I do think that people that have bad behaviors tend to surround themselves with people with similar bad behaviors, therefore to make them not feel bad about their actions.
100%. Yeah, because they don't want to face the mirror. So they're going to be like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, like heavy drinkers tend to hang out with heavy drinkers. Cheaters tend to hang out with cheaters.
Yeah.
Married people tend to hang out with married people. Like people with kids tend to hang out with people with kids. Like it's just like those connective tissues. Like look for that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I've been speaking with someone who's a bartender, and they were telling me that at their bar, like the regulars kind of don't talk about how much they drank. But they like, you know, like it's very obvious that they're excessively drinking and they're there every week. And it's kind of just like an unspoken thing. And they're, you know, all of the regulars are tight with each other because it's like, they're not going to be like, hey, what was that, your 7th vodka soda? You know, like they're just like, yeah, cool, nice seeing you. They're not going to talk about how excessively everyone's drinking. So it is interesting to see that in live time, because you would think, you'd be like, wow, when everyone, and so many people are judgmental these days. Sure, I'm not saying that we are avoid of that, but I'm saying you would think that people would point it out. But I think you're right. They're more worried about the insecurity of it being pointed out in them that they would turn a blind eye.
Absolutely. And I think that they know that people that are having that same problem aren't going to say anything because to them it won't seem like a problem. So if you're regularly drinking 6 cocktails a night or whatever it is, if somebody does 7, like to you it's like, oh, it's just one more than what I would do.
It's no big deal.
Yeah. And if somebody's used to being drunk and their people they're around are drunk and acting a fool, like, oh, well, like, we both did it. It's funny. It's cool.
It's a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, you get blackout drunk every Saturday night. Yeah. Like maybe we reconvene on that one. Yeah. And I think you're right. There's also the other side of it where it's major, not only like obviously drug use, alcohol use is a major life decision, but I think a lot of the times that's so passive as far as you're not sitting down going like, you know what, I think it's time to become an alcoholic. You know, like I think
that's
it's
a slow
disease.
build.
It's a disease, obviously but I think people that is a slow build, you kind of just get more into comfortably drinking, and then your limit of how much you can ingest without feeling something, your tolerance gets higher, so then you adjust accordingly. Yeah. On the back end of it, say your friends are all getting married and you're the lone wolf, maybe you're looking into marriage more.
I will say, I feel everybody I know, present company excluded, is pregnant right now.
Yep.
Almost everybody is pregnant. And I am not in anyway inclined to get pregnant, even like being, but I guess like I will say like the most of the people that are in the peripheral, like not like super close to, like some of them I am, but not like a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But I swear everybody I'm hearing about is pregnant right now. Mm-hmm. And
me knocking on wood.
Have to do
completely celibate.
Yeah, I know. I was about to, you have to do things.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Thanks for throwing that in my face.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a choice. Continue though.
But I just don't feel even like seeing people like. In fact, it's like I feel like I'm going the opposite where I'm like, oh, everybody's doing it. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to be everybody.
Interesting. So you almost have the experience of rebellion where you're going like, I'm not going with the grain.
Yeah.
Like instead of wanting to relate to them on that aspect that you haven't been able to experience yet, not being a mother, you're going like, no, I'll be the single friend or like the not the single.
Auntie.
Yeah, the
like,
auntie.
Yeah. I think I've like you said, like enjoying so much being an aunt yourself. Like I love kids. I love being around them. But like I in no way want to deal with like it's hard.
It's a
although I do
commitment.
use Aurelio as an example for people that are like friends that are pregnant right now and scared. I'm like, but if you have an Aurelio.
Yeah. No, I mean he's perfect. I can't even dispute it. He's making me question things. You know, I'm like, interesting. Yeah. Babies are all like this. But also, you do see how much goes into parenthood, at least for me.
Well, it's just even like you were saying, like the fear that she has, like innately.
Yeah.
Like her sister-in-law is like first-time mom, and there's always the fear of like, I don't want any bad to come to my child. Yes. Like, how do I protect them in all facets? Like, there's so much fear that is just instinctually in you after you have that child.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that like level of fear if I'm feeling the level that I feel at aunt status for sure. And it's true. And I think with marriage though, do you feel any like pressure there? Yeah. But okay, so say you've had a couple friends get married in the last couple of years. Is that made you maybe speed up your timeline as far as like, well, we can get married ASAP? Or are you more like, well, we'll see where it goes? Like, do you feel like it's influenced you at all?
I don't think so.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe I'm just not realizing it. Sure. I think sometimes the biggest influences in our life are
subconscious.
Yeah, that you don't even know. But no, I think I would want to get married to Neil regardless of my surroundings. But like, but let's say it's the opposite. Like, let's say nobody I know is married, and like I'm the only one. Like, maybe it would feel a little bit more like that could feel a little bit different because I do know so many people. Maybe it allows that comfort of being like,
we're gonna get married. Instead of if all of your friends were like, I don't believe in marriage. Yeah. Marriage is just a paper. You know, you might be like, yeah. Now that I think about it, we don't need to get married. Right. We could be legal partners or something. Yeah, I feel like it's always a good sign for me when I'm at that age where I know people that are married with kids and I know people that are like the most single they've ever been. They're like, you fucking try to tie me down, you know, like I think, you know, so I'm seeing both. I'm seeing both and I feel thankfully in the middle where I'm like the right person, the right scenario came along. I don't think I would ever be opposed to settling down. However, I'm not only in the market for that.
You'd be a beautiful bride, though. I just had an image.
Start sobbing. No, I'm ready for your wedding, Neil. But yeah, no, I'm like, I'm ready. I'll practice. I'll be flower girl. Oh. But yeah, no, I'm very excited for all.
Why would you be flower? I don't know. You're in the wedding party.
I would be a bridesmaid. That's more appropriate for my age. Me. But I think, I think about that a lot. And use your words, Madison. Okay. My experience, none of my siblings are technically married. Well, they are. My brother is married.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but he didn't have a traditional wedding.
Sure, yeah.
But my eldest brother, he's not married. Yeah. I think they probably will get married soon, potentially have a kid. Who knows? We'll see. Fingers crossed. Rosa does listen to this, his girlfriend, so hopefully she's not offended
like,
by that.
I don't want to
She's like, you're volunteering my life.
We have it planned.
Yes. So they're not married. And then there's Max and Ida, who are legally married and have their baby.
Yeah.
And then Alex and Steve, and they're not married and they're not even engaged. Neither are Tristan and Rosa. And I think about that a lot because I'm like, my parents were also on the end. Obviously, they had kids and got married, but my mom was 7 months pregnant when they got married. Like they were not traditional about it at all.
Yeah.
And I think that did influence us a little. And none of us, it's not like we don't believe in marriage or something like that, but I think we don't hold that like marriage certificate and the wedding to the same standard of like, this is a chapter that you have to complete in your life. And I will say, I feel like slighted a little. I'm like, Max, I want a wedding. I want to be in the party. I want to have a great time. I want us to celebrate. We have such a big family and big Italian and Irish family that I'm like, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. It would be so fun.
Party, yeah.
But that's me selfishly wanting to go to a very expensive party that I don't have to pay for. So that's where, take that with a grain of salt. But I will say, witnessing my siblings, I'm less inclined when I meet men. And when men talk to me about getting married and like if I've had a very like, I feel like a lot of women traditionally have like, I know exactly where I want to get married. I know exactly what dress, blah, 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 and it's pretty pre-planned. And I feel like a lot of the time when men talk to me and they're kind of like scoping me out and they're like, do you want to get married? And I'm like, theoretically, yeah. And I'm like, but I don't know. It really depends on the partner. Yeah. Like if my partner is like gung-ho about having a wedding, I think I'll be more inclined to, want to do it. If he's kind of like, and I'm kind of like, then would just get
courthouse
or something like that. And I think I've romanticized getting married in Vegas because my parents got married in Vegas. I think that would be fun. But it is funny. That's in my environment, and it's directly affected how I feel about marriage.
I love that.
And it's not like when I go to my friends' weddings, I'm so excited for them, and it's the best thing in the world, and I couldn't be happier that they're getting married. Yeah. But I think I don't.
It is expensive, though.
Oh, it's so expensive. Yeah, and and like I think about you and Neil, and I know that that's probably around the corner, and I'm like so excited for you guys. But I'm also like, I don't feel any pressure to get married from that, thank God. Yeah. But I know that some people do, and I will say, I tend to gravitate towards more men that have guy friends that are wifed up because it makes me feel like they're more secure able to commit. Like settled. Yeah, they would be. They're not going to feel like, oh, I'm missing out on all this free time with the boys.
Totally.
Like if they're in relationships, they can still have their combined boy time or like their downtime where it's just the men, but they're not thinking like it's not this whole old ball and chain situation, or it's not like I've seen so many TikToks of guys like as soon as they get single, they try to convince their guy friends to be single. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't think really, but I think there are some toxic people out there that would promote that.
Are. Absolutely. I think there's women like that too.
100%. I don't think it's a gender thing.
No, absolutely not. I think that when I was younger, I definitely felt like more of like, even for myself, like when I was in a relationship, I'm like, oh, but like I want to go out. I want to do this. I want to like be with friends. And like now I'm just like, I want to be with my friends, but I also want to be home. Yeah. Like we talked about. But I think that comes with age. But I think that I would probably be more swayed in wanting to, even being in a relationship, of wanting to go out more if all of my friends were consistently calling and being like, come on. Yeah. I think the guilt would eventually like weigh in on me and I would eventually go.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I think that can happen in all factors. And like, I think that's why it's so important we surround ourselves with healthy groups of friends, because like eventually you're going to give in. Like if you're on a diet and somebody brings you chocolate every day, eventually you're going to eat a piece.
Sure. And you're comparing that to someone being like, get married.
No, I was thinking going out, but like going out, but for sure marriage, like I would say marriage is probably, and marriage and kids is obviously like certain life factors have to align for that. I'm sure probably if you're a single person and all of your girlfriends are married or all of your guy friends are married, you're probably more likely to want to try to find a partner that you can marry.
Absolutely.
And whether that's a wedding or not, like, but you probably want to, like, you want to enter into that phase of life because, like, also we talk about like the celebrations that go with this, right? And so when you see people celebrating their love or celebrating a child, like, there's very much of like the thought or the rose-colored glasses of what that experience must be like. And
the other side of the fence, looking over at your neighbors, being like, "Oh, that looks nice.
I want that." Yeah, exactly.
And I think it happens on both sides. You know, I think committed completely with children, all this stuff, and also the other side of like, oh, I remember when I was single and I didn't have to worry about a thing and I could do anything. And you know, I think there is always a sense of the grass is always greener. Sometimes, not with everyone. Hopefully, you have a healthy relationship dynamic with that, but. Yeah, I
always think about that with kids. Like, I feel like that's the hardest one because, and we've talked about this in other episodes, but it's just like, it's the only thing you can't go back on.
Yeah.
And then you're just a parent for life and you have to make that commitment for life. And so, like, the fear that you have when they're a child, like, doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Even when they get older, you're always going to worry about them.
Yeah.
And, like, as much as you get to experience that love, like, that must be... I think I've heard moms say things like, "Oh, it's like your heart being outside of your body." Like, in the world. Like, that would be really tough.
It's very intense. Yeah, and I would say for the people on the side of the fence of the mom fence, right, where if they are moms, like I think about my sister-in-law who is a new mother, and we were talking at the dinner table last night, and we were saying that of like, do you think your friendships have been affected now that you have a baby? Yeah. Like, do you think, like, we were more coming at it from the angle of like, do you feel ostracized more? And she was saying she's felt closer to other moms because they can relate on trivial things like, is there BPA-free plastic sippy cups? Which you could, things. It's very important. Yeah. But if you bring that up to a single friend, they're like, maybe, you know, when moms that have done copious amounts of research for their own kids are like, oh my God, the sippy cups, let's talk about it. And she feels like, not that her friends that don't have kids, it's not like she's looking at them any less than, or, but the problems that they have seem a little more trivial sometimes because if it's like and this thing happened at work or whatever, that's still a big
thing for them.
But for her, she's the magnitude of her heart outside of her body being like a living, breathing, walking thing that she's like trying to protect at all times and is always thinking of him. You know, it's easier to relate to people that have had that experience or are currently in that experience.
Absolutely. Well, and then also I'm sure like at this stage too, she's probably still transitioning into that motherhood. So it's like she wants to soak up as much information as she can to be the best mom that she can. Like, that anything outside of that would be like, I can't cloud my brain with this right now. So I'm sure that adds into it as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that maybe mothers of multiple children actually might have an easier time relating to single people because it's not so encompassed in one thing. When I think maybe a mom that's now has grown up 8-year-olds could relate to a single person better because it's that, of course, your brain is occupied by how to take care of this human, right? Yeah. But now you can put it away more when it's not like a thing that's completely reliant on you, you know, like a newborn baby or something like that.
Absolutely. I think that's why, like we talked about in the loneliness episode too, about how important community is. And so I think when we enter into different phases of our lives, it is so important to be surrounded by community that can support those different phases. I think motherhood being one of the biggest ones, like, and even like, I still think that with even marriage, like it's important to surround yourself with people. I don't think it's necessarily other married people, but I think that relationships are hard and marriage is hard, and you want a community around you that supports that relationship and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when it comes to drugs and alcohol, there's also support groups for that. Yeah. I'm not saying like, obviously, like I drank, I've done drugs in the past. Like, I think that anything can be done with moderation and it's fine. We're not saying that it's all bad. Please don't take it that way.
Yeah.
We're just saying that if people are doing it into excess and they're trying to pull you into that can be bad.
100%. Yeah. And I think I'm going to bring up a side quest really quick. A different topic that this is reminding me of, I think the thing that is so enticing about when you have married friends, when they're having kids, when they're, I don't know, like celebrations like parties and they're drinking and all this stuff. It is such a celebratory thing. It is something that is so sought after. It's something that's also so encouraged. It's something that, like, as soon as you get married, and when are you having a kid, you know, or as soon as you start dating someone, when are you guys getting married? You know, it's something that is like a next chapter thing. And they're usually celebrated in big fashions, like a party or, you know, like a baby shower, things like this, that people are getting showered in love in their community. Yeah. And I think the same is not done for people that are single, that are either getting a master's degree, that are furthering their education, getting a new training, traveling the world, getting more cultured. Also the people that are getting promoted in their job, like those are not treated, those successes.
It's not the same.
Are not
or at least not to the level and not as traditionally like celebrated as these things.
Yeah, like sometimes,
that is a Sex and the City theory. Remember when she like that shoe was taken, her shoes were taken?
Yeah.
And then she was like, when you become an adult, if you don't get married and you don't have a kid outside of your birthday, there's no other celebration. Yeah. And it shouldn't be that way. There's so much that you should be celebrated for, whether it's successes or even just you as a person, like if you're like continually growing or acknowledging certain things, like there should be different milestones that we celebrate for all people.
Totally. Like, for example, Carrie in Sex and the City, like it would be a book release or something like that. That should be the same. If she didn't want to get married, if she didn't want to have kids, that should be to the same magnitude, I would say it should be allowed to that, you know, like,
or Vero getting her green card, like that should be a huge celebration.
We're bringing up Vero in every episode.
Check, did it again.
But it's true. I think those are milestones, huge milestones of someone's life that maybe aren't treated to the same value as someone getting married or someone having a kid. That's treated as such a momentous occasion. And these other accomplishments.
And they should be, for sure. Like, obviously, getting married and having a kid is a thing to be celebrated. But it's just like there are other celebrations that should be included in that.
Exactly.
And I think maybe what we need to do is give people the passage to do that for themselves, right? Yeah. And so, like, if you have an accomplishment, send an Evite out. Yeah. Tell people we're celebrating this. Like,
get a fucking registry for graduating med school.
Absolutely.
For sure. If you do a registry for your baby,
and
if you're like,
all go towards student debt.
Yes.
Or
whatever you
want. Why can't we do that? Like, if somebody graduated and they put in the time, they put in the effort. At weddings, there's like cash, like gifts. Yes. Like, why couldn't people?
A literal registry. I think you could do that. You could easily do that. I know. I'm just saying, and to your point, we're not trying to subtract it all from the celebration of marriages and divorces. Also, let's put that on there. That would be something that could be.
Well, they do divorce parties.
They do, but it's only in the last 5 years, 10 years.
For sure,
it's not like something that's been.
I actually love the divorce parties where I see the ex-husband and ex-wife do it together and celebrate like their lives that they've had together, because it's like, we're not together anymore, but we still appreciate each other. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. But I also like women going wild and be like, let's burn my dress.
I've never seen that the couple doing it together. That's wonderful. That's very progressive. I'm like, good for you that you could be in the same room as them. But I think we're not trying to subtract any acknowledgement or celebration from marriage. The things that are quintessential, like
traditional
like celebrations, yes. But I think leaving room
add to it,
for those others. And I think we should also do it as friends too. I think it's hard. I know it's easy to encourage people to be like, just fucking do it, send out a registry. But I think it's hard when you don't feel like you've maybe necessarily accomplished something as big, or you don't feel like, even birthdays, I mean, I'll speak for myself. It's hard for me to like send out invites for my birthday. You know, I'll do it, and I've done it in the years past, especially in adulthood, because I'm like, fuck it. I'd rather see people for my birthday because that's what I want than be like weirdly nervous about it. But I will say it's so much easier when someone like takes it off your plate and is like, hey, Maddie's turning, blah, blah, blah. Let's all go out, And I think if we did that, I have a friend that just got their master's degree. And the first thing I was like, dude, we're going out. We're celebrating. We're getting a big dinner, whatever you want, whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. Because I'm like, and that's the baseline, I think if this friend really liked more social gatherings, I would maybe throw a party. But she likes individual groups when she can. And nothing's wrong with it.
No,
not at all. Not. But that was something I know she really appreciates, dinner and like going out and like celebrating those kinds of things. And I'm like, we should do that every time. She just got promoted too. And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Another fucking thing that we can celebrate. Yeah.
I know who she is and I'm so proud of her.
Exactly. But I'm like, we should do that. We should be able to. And like one of my best friends, their partner, Claire, she just got her match. She just got matched to UCLA for her for after med school. Now
that's
is
awesome.
Doing her residency at UCLA. I'm like, that's something that should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
That was a culmination of so much hard work.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but I think I'm taking more stock now being single.
Yeah.
I'm taking more stock of those kind of successes and
You're
being
really
like,
good
how
at that,
can
actually.
How can we do it?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that I actually need to be better about that because like I'll do like the obligatory call or like the check-in, but like I need to do more of the actual like celebrating and like the
You're really
acknowledgement
good at it too, though.
I think I could be better, honestly, but like I want to be better because I think those moments are so much more like working towards and planning and plotting and like and especially like I want to celebrate women that win. I want to celebrate women that like that work so hard to create like a different image and like and put themselves at the top of like of certain industries and like I love that and like that is meant to be celebrated because not too long ago that wasn't even a possibility.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So I it's interesting that I think this can be really a positive benefit, adjusting to your group. Everyone's married, you're like, all right, well now I'm more inclined to get married, or everyone's getting pregnant and you're like, I totally get the draw there of like not wanting to do it alone. And if your friends start having babies, then it's so much easier to. Ruth is winking at me because she's always like, I'll have one if you have one.
I'll do it if you do it.
I'm like, you have a partner.
Well, wait.
This would be immaculate conception.
Me and Neil are like, you ready?
Yeah, I know.
When you're ready, we're going to go.
Because I get it. Community.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we've talked about.
I mean, I feel like that would be really hard to do without support. Like, obviously, I would have support, but it would be so much cooler.
Oh, my God. I remember even nannying, and, like, I would make friends with some of the moms. Yeah. And not all of them were nice to me because I was the nanny, which... Haters.
Yeah.
But there were some that were really lovely to me and would treat me as an equal. And I remember you could just tell we would both be like, oh, my God, adult conversation. It's like you're surrounded by kids all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that was so... I don't think I appreciated that about motherhood before I was a nanny. And obviously I don't fully understand motherhood, but that was something I noticed when I would hang out with other moms. It's like that it's a community. Like I saw a TikTok the other day that was like the audacity of us as kids when our moms would be like, honey, I'm going to talk to our friends. And we'd be like throwing tantrums and being like, I'm going in the car in 5 minutes. We're leaving. And she literally said, she was like, I was a monster to my mom. And I thought that was so funny because I was like, I don't think I ever went to that level. But I remember a couple of times being in the grocery store, hanging on a grocery cart. My mom's talking to someone and I'm like, will she wrap it up already? I'm like, we're doing things. We're getting milk. We're getting eggs. But it's like that might have been her only adult conversation the whole day. So she's like, hi, how's it going? And I think that kind of community. Like, I get it. Like, if you were having a baby and I was on the fence and I was thinking about doing it, I would be way more inclined
to. Over the fence. I'd be like, let's go.
It probably would. I totally see that. Because I think I would be like, okay, my kid will have a kid too to play
absolutely.
With. Like,
well, that too, because we're so close. Like, I think that's what community creates too, right? Like, I would totally like want my kids to be friends with my best friend's kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the horrible side of it, I hope there are not people, women, non-binary people that are seeing poor behavior of their counterparts and being like, oh, well, if he has a mistress, I can have a mistress.
Sure. Yeah.
That worries me so much. But I know my husband would never.
He would never.
He would never.
He would never.
And yours would never either.
No.
So, and that's not an elitist thing. That's like a truly I don't think we would connect.
I mean, I've already warned Neil. Secrets don't stay secrets. He would never.
He would never. But I do get worried about that. That is a fear, and I think that's why, like I said earlier in this episode, I lean more towards the guys that I know that have good guy friends that are not cheating on their girlfriends, that are. And it's not like you can really choose how your friend's behavior is. Sure. You can choose who you surround yourself with.
That's the thing.
But I will say, to your point, it will also depend on how they react to that poor behavior. If you see your friend come home and they're like distraught and you're like, what happened? They're like, Steve told me that he cheated on blank, and I can't believe it. I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so out of his character.
And I need to talk to him. He needs to tell her, that would be a different than you finding out that he's known about an affair this entire time. And you're like,
or he tells you very nonchalant, like, he just, that's who he is. And he can't settle down, sort of thing. Yeah.
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 It's hard.
Yeah. But, well, be careful who you hang out with, kids.
That was the most iconic wrap up that you've ever done. You went, yeah. Well, it's true. It's true, though. Be careful. Be careful.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with the right people. Make the right decisions. Don't be swayed by bad decisions. Hopefully you are only swayed by good, or just standing your own ground of what's right for you, what's good in your life, what decisions best fit what you want to lead. So we thank you so much. Do you want to talk about anybody that inspires you?
Let's see. I would say Noah, one of my best friends. She inspires me so much. I feel like she's so smart and so wonderful, so loyal. I've never met a more true ride or die, to the scary degree where you're like, oh my God, you would kill someone. You would kill someone for me. But it's the best. You feel so held in a friendship with her. And she loves so deeply and so intensely, and just being able to witness that and see the growth over the years too. She's just a wonderful human, and she's a badass, and I don't think she gives herself enough credit. So,
well, I hope she does, and I know she will hear this. Yeah, but I definitely second all of those factors of seeing that, and she's an amazing friend.
Yeah.
What about you? I'm gonna go to somebody I don't know for this one. I'm gonna say, and you know this, Gloria Steinem.
Oh.
Love her. The OG, the woman that started the movement, not the only woman, but one of the pioneers. And I look up to her so much. She holds herself so well, so stern, but still feminine in her power, speaks so beautifully, has always stood up for women and their rights. And I aspire to be more like her.
Yeah. I think she'd be very proud of who you are and how you operate. Hopefully we can meet her one day. That'd be fucking
I hope
awesome.
she can be on this.
Oh my God.
Podcast.
Gloria Steinem, come on the podcast. Femme Tell All.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and we'll see you next week on Femme Tell All.
Thank you so much.
Bye.